we never talked about this, but in terms of like people I've taken out, Arnold Schwarzenegger,
no way.
heads of state, countries, all this kind of stuff, and I'm like going, and it wasn't in a big group; it was just his family.
Wow.
And it was like,
did they just come out as public people or as private? Was it a charter?
No, he was so cool.
Who, you talking about Arnold?
Yeah, he was so cool. It was this, he has people. I don't have people, but he's got people, and he's like, well, his people are like, yeah, we're coming out, and he was governor at the time, and I go like, I'd be happy to host them, and they go, no, he insists on paying whatever he would. Whatever someone would normally pay to do it. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, he was the governor when he came on the boat.
Yeah.
That's really so cool.
And it was him, his wife, and his children. Period. He has security detail. He didn't want his security detail on the boat, so he put them on another boat. And they just trailed us. Like, you wouldn't even know that was his security detail.
Interesting.
Wow. So
he just wanted privacy or be with the family?
Yeah, he just wanted family time.
Cool.
And he's also the only person who asked me to dock. Can I dock the boat? And I said, yeah, okay.
Wow.
So, you wouldn't, the Coast Guard would freak out on me. You let the person dock the boat, and then you crash the boat, and that's why, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't know. He's a very intimidating guy.
The governor.
Did he do it?
Yeah, he did it.
Hell yeah.
On the Wind is presented this season by two old friends of the podcast, Rutgerson Marine, a hardware company in Sweden, close to home for me, and OPO, Offshore Passage Opportunities, run by our good friend Hank Schmidt, fan of the podcast, friend of the podcast, former guest of the podcast, which is a place where you can join Hank's mailing list and basically sail for free as a crew member on various deliveries that Hank organizes. It's a great way. I kind of started my career doing deliveries, and obviously we'd love for you to come sail with us at 59 North, but if you don't have the time or can't afford it, you can pay, I think it's up to $150 a year now to join OPO, and you get lots of opportunities to go on deliveries as a crew member. So check that out. That's sailopo.com. As for Rutgerson, I am in the process of ordering a new rig for Spica, a new rig and sails. And part of that project is going to include installing a bunch of Rutgerson stuff on the mast and sails. So we use the Rutgerson bat car receptacles for the sails. We use Rutgerson clutches for the mast and a bunch of other hardware items. A good friend of ours, Ludwig, is the designer at Rutgerson. So it's really cool to basically have access to that. And unlike most other hardware companies, everything at Rutgerson is designed and built in Sweden. Ludwig's office is upstairs at the factory, and the factory is downstairs. So when there's like a design question, Ludwig walks downstairs to the production floor and they can sort stuff out. It's really cool. We've had a lot of fun using Rutgerson stuff over the years. They make really high quality stuff. And I highly recommend it. So check out Rutgerson Marine. That's Marin. There's no E on that. RutgersonMarine.se to see all that stuff. And I'm sure next time you go to your local chandlery, look around and see what the Rutgerson stuff that you can find there, because it's quite ubiquitous, really high quality. And a very cool story. Those of us in the U.S. know more about Harken. Harken's kind of a ubiquitous sailing brand. Well, Peter Harken and Göran Rutgerson were buddies back in the 70s and kind of started these hardware companies on a similar sort of timeline. And there's a really cool little story there. There's an ice boat hanging up in the factory in Sweden that has the Harken and Rutgerson logos on it because they were doing that kind of stuff together back in the day. So really cool story. I love working with these small family companies, as you know, and I hope you'll buy their products to support them because they support the podcast. Again, that's sailopo.com. Check out Hank Schmidt's Offshore Passage Opportunities, and that's rutgersonmarine.se. Thanks again to both of them for sponsoring this episode of the show. Mic check, mic check. One more intro recording in Mission Control. This is the last time. Let's do it. Ahoy, shipmates. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Andy, a very jet-lagged Andy. My computer says it's 4:30 in the morning because my computer is still on Bahamas time, but I am back in Sweden, and this is probably the last time I'm going to be recording, definitely the last time I'm going to be recording a podcast intro from Mission Control, specifically my shipping container turned office, because me and I are moving. We're moving just 15 minutes down the road into town. We're downsizing from the big 100-acre farm that we live on to a much smaller property that is easier to take care of. We decided we can be farmers or sailors, and we can't be both. So we're going to spend our summers now out on Spica instead of taking care of the farm. So that means my office is going to be in the house. I still have an office space. It's still going to be called Mission Control, but it's not going to be nearly as cool as this. I got to figure out where I'm going to put all my Legos in the new place because it's a little bit of a smaller office. But anyway, very exciting, very fun times here, and that's what's helping me suffer through this jet lag because I'm excited to start moving. And in fact, as soon as I finish this recording, I'm going to start packing up all the books in the office and all the Legos and all the photos of cool boats and the world map, and we're going to start moving that stuff into the new house. Okay, more importantly, this episode, this was really unexpected. So the connection here is that the Schooner America, which is based in San Diego, they do whale watching tours out there, is built at Scarano, which is the same place where the Woodwinds were built. The Woodwinds, of course, being the two 74-foot schooners that I started my career on and which we recently bought back in October. So we're running our first full season on Woodwind this year. Side note, we're running the Great Chesapeake Bay Schooner Race as a 59 North trip. So if you want to sail on Woodwind for a week-long adventure in late October, one of the coolest things ever. I did it in 2006 and 2007 as a deckhand. We're doing that. It's open on the website, on the 59 North website. Sign up there. You'll find it under our passages. You can actually search by Woodwind now. We're also doing a trip back up the bay. So after the race, we're going to do a 5-day cruising trip back up the bay, sailing during the day, stopping at night. Little adventure sail. We also did that back in my day. Woodwind has not done that recently, so we're bringing this back. If you want to do the race, you can extend that and stay on for the trip back, or you can just do the trip back, which starts down in Norfolk and ends in Annapolis. Delaney, who is currently on Falcon right now, they just got to Costa Rica. She's going to be skippering both of those trips, the race and the trip back. She's been working for Woodwind for like the last 3 years. So really excited for that. Anyway, back to my story. America was built at Scarano, the same place that the Woodwinds were built. And Ryan Finstad, one of my business partners and one of my good friends, lives out in San Diego and knew about the boat and wanted to get the owner on the podcast because of this Woodwind connection. But we didn't know what to expect. Like, he kind of reached out to the company and got in touch with one of their deckhands and organized this interview. And honestly, like, I was like, oh, this is probably going to be corporate and lame or whatever. So they invited us over. We go over to America, which was just across the harbor from where Falcon was. And we go down below, and the boat is just like, first of all, it's freaking enormous. It's 144 feet long, so it's literally twice as long as Woodwinds. And I mean, the main boom on America is as long as Falcon almost. It's 62 feet long. It's nuts. Really cool, shiny black hull. I mean, in immaculate condition. It turns out Troy, the owner, lives on board the boat with his dog. So you go down below, and there's this, full beam main salon that is just covered in America's Cup ship models. Everything from like the early days of Schooner America was the first America's Cup boat. It's what the America's Cup is named after. I think it was like 1862, sailed across the Atlantic to race the Britannia, I think, around the Isle of Wight and won the first America's Cup, and now it's the longest trophy in sports. Anyway, he's a huge history nerd, America's Cup nerd, and he's got like half hull models, everything from like the recent catamarans and weird foiling monohulls, all the way back to his own America, which is the replica, and the old J-Class, and just really amazing little salon. And we actually recorded a video of this interview, which is going to go up on YouTube as well, so you can see the context of where we did this interview. But as I said, I thought this might have been a boring like corporate chat, and it was anything but. Troy was freaking awesome. Really eclectic guy, had a financial background, quit all that, left all that, bought this boat, which is, just crazy that he even thought to buy it, sailed it through the Panama Canal, all over the place, up to Alaska and around, and now has settled in San Diego. And it is so cool. This is one of my favorite things about this podcast is like, you just never know where these conversations are going to go. And I was like just flabbergasted talking to this guy. So really excited about this interview. I hope you like it. And again, if you're in a schooner mood, go to 59-north.com, and you can either go to the About section and look for the Woodwind, or you can go to Passages and look for the Schooner Race. I actually think the Schooner Race is just at 59-north.com/schooner-race. I'll try to put a link up in Instagram as well. So if you want to race with us or sail back and get into the schooner mode, do it. If not, just enjoy this interview with one of the coolest schooner captains that I've ever met. Really excited for this one. Okay, here we go. You're listening to On the Wind, my podcast about offshore sailing. I'm your host, Andy Schell. Troy Sears is the owner and captain of the San Diego-based Schooner AMERICA, a 144-foot replica of the racing ship that came to be the namesake of the famous Cup. Troy's a huge America's Cup nerd and history buff, delving into the history of the Cup and starting the podcast off with a question about the origins of the word yacht. Troy lives aboard America with his dog and captains the boat on daily whale watching trips 330 days per year. We talked about how he came to buy the boat, his career sailing America all over the ocean, running the chase boat for actual America's Cup campaigns, and much, much more in an exciting, unexpected, and wide-ranging interview.
Well, we're in the salon on the America, and I'm an America's Cup nut, and so the room is filled with half models, not all the half models, but many of the half models of boats that competed, and certainly the way I set it up was that to have it kind of reflect the changes in yacht design since the America race in 1851. So you'll see different kind of, not even wider than generations, you'll see different philosophies of technology as they've changed over time. And I've always considered the America's Cup a technology event.
I noticed the BMW Oracle catamaran hanging in the companionway when we came downstairs.
Yeah, I can't put that one on the wall very much, as you'd whack into it. So it is a half model, but when you take a half of a trimaran, you got something that sticks out pretty far. But I have one cat multi-hull in here, but all the other ones are monohulls. Which came first, the obsession with the America's Cup and then the boat, or the boat and then the obsession with the America? Because, I mean, to explain what America is, if people don't know, I mean, this is a replica of, well, I'll let you tell the story. Well, it's actually a very fair question, because I find that even within the sailing community, a lot of sailors don't know basic sailing history. Am I allowed to put you on the spot?
Yes, please put me on the spot. I'm nervous now.
What's the word yacht mean?
That's a great question, but I assume it's like a Dutch word. Is it a Dutch word?
Yeah, that's the etymology of it.
Yeah.
What's it mean?
I don't know.
Okay. So this is exactly my point. So even within the sailing community, so to answer the question, yes, it was a Dutch word, and originally it translates as a fishing boat, but it was meant to distinguish a boat for recreation or pleasure. And it was really, from the U.S. point of view, like when I was younger, if I was having breakfast with someone from New Zealand, it wouldn't be very common for their kid to come in and say, "What are you doing today?" "Well, I'm going yachting today," and that would mean in his optimist.
Right.
So, but here in the U.S., we've turned it in to mean fancy and to be frankly snobby, and that's really a shame, because it really it's distinguishable for recreation or pleasure. And this ties in well with your first question about the America's Cup, because the America's Cup, sailing was the first expression of recreation as we come into the industrial age. Okay. Yes, if you were in the court of King Henry VIII, they would play a game that we now would know as tennis, but you had to be inside the court of St. James. If you weren't, then there wasn't really recreation. It's almost hard to think about it today, but it was serfdoms, and people. There's no four-season hotels. There was no the concept of a vacation didn't exist. The first kind of, then you have first time the religious holy days, which becomes holidays, and then you have the industrial age come, and then people start trying to have some time for recreation. And of course, it was the more wealthy in society, and the first expression of that was yachting. So it was a way to distinguish. A yacht was a way to distinguish that this boat was built for recreation and pleasure.
A yacht as opposed to
a merchant ship.
A merchant ship.
A military vessel. A ferry. So it was a way to distinguish. If I say ferry, you have a picture in your mind what that's going to look like. If I say warship, you got an image in your mind what that's going to look like. I say cargo ship or tanker or everything, it immediately puts an image in your mind. So when you say yacht, now you're talking about, this is a recreational boat.
So is it do you lament the fact that like yacht has kind of become a bad word in culturally?
Yeah, I found myself frequently trying to defend the word. When the United States Yacht Racing Union changed their name to U.S. Sailing, I thought they caved.
Okay, I didn't. Okay.
I think, and the reason why I fight for the word is because it has sailing changed my life, and I don't know why I'm here really, because I grew up in a very blue collar household, and here you are on arguably the most famous racing yacht in history. So why am I here is a better question. So I think by using the word yacht, and if you change it with fun boat, it completely changes the tone. I'm a member of the San Diego Fun Boat Club. Sounds totally different than I'm a member of the San Diego Yacht Club. And there's lots of kids out there who I think were like me growing up, thinking that this is an activity or sport that was not for them, because either their parents don't think they think it'd be expensive, or the connotation. You like if you went to school and you said, well, I'm a sailor, you might get beat up. So I defend the word because I think sailing does a couple things for growing up as a kid better than any other activity. Would you like a couple examples?
I do, but I want to stay on the yacht thing for a second because it's interesting. I live in Sweden, and the Royal Swedish Yacht Club, of which I am a member.
Well, toss Royal in there too. Now you're really.
But my point is the actual Swedish word for it. It's called KSSS. KSSS.
Yeah.
Stands for Kungliga Svensk Segelsällskap, and that means sailing community, basically.
Yeah.
The Royal Swedish Sailing Community. So when
Makes
you read it,
sense.
when you translate it literally, it has a totally different meaning, and that's the clubs over in Sweden are much more community focused and much more accessible than what you consider a yacht club here.
Right.
But when you say Royal Swedish Yacht Club, it's like, ooh, that's really
Exactly.
interesting. But when you translate it literally, it has a very different meaning.
Exactly.
So you were going to say about your.
Well, I can use for my personal example. I mean, I did not grow up in a sailing family. I did not grow up in a yacht club community. I was a newspaper boy, and I saved up here in San Diego.
Okay.
In a community called Claremont, very much a blue collar working class area of San Diego, and I got exposed to sailing one time in a styrofoam snark, which you probably have never heard of, don't know what they are.
I have heard of it. I've heard of it.
They arrived in the mail. It was actually arrived as part of my stepfather smoked cigarettes, and if you saved so many coupons, you could get this delivered in the mail, and it came. And it really was a Cinderella story. His sons, my stepbrothers, they had no interest. So I put the boat together, and then they didn't consider that I was too young to be in it. So
how old were you?
9.
Okay.
And then I was really pissed off about that. So I duct taped the boat to a skateboard and walked it down to the water in Mission Bay and launched it. And I don't know what it looked like sailing, but I just started following what other boats were doing, and was self-taught that way. By the time I get to 12, I cashed in my newspaper money and bought my first brand new boat, a Hobie 12.
What was it about it? I mean, you were 9. Do you actually have vivid memories of this, or do you just...
Totally. I still have over on the other side of the salon, I have a picture of me launching my boat, and maybe someone can grab it. It's in the center there.
What was it about it that hooked you?
I was a very nerdy, independent, shy kid. Okay? And being out on the boat and by myself, at the age of 12, I was sailing out of sight of land.
So this is the Snark?
This is the Hobie 12.
Oh, the Hobie 12. Okay. Man, that's cool. Is this here in San Diego?
Yes, on Mission Bay.
This is great audio now because people aren't going to always be able to see this, but that's really cool. We'll take a picture of this and stick it up on the website then. So yeah, again, you said what was it that hooked you?
Then that was my world. And my nerdy, introverted world, I found freedom in that boat. Like I said, at age 12, I was sailing out of sight of land.
Wow. On the Hobie?
Uh-huh.
If you were, so you don't necessarily always associate like nerdy, introverted, and brave at the same time. That sounds like a brave thing to do.
I didn't even think of it that way. I never felt. This goes back to I think what sailing can teach that kids that's hard in this world. One, I think it does a great job of converting fear into confidence.
How?
Well, like every kid who starts sailing is always scared about tipping over. So what do they usually do in junior sailing programs? They tip over.
Right.
And they keep tipping over until like, first on fear, and then the next thing you know, it's a warm summer day and they're tipping over the boat intentionally so they can cool off and they're not threatened by it. So it's just conquering those fears. And the other one is self-reliance. The very concept that, when you're by yourself in a Hobie 12 and you're outside of the land, if something breaks on that boat, you got to fix it. So it's ingenuity, it's resourcefulness. That's a great thing when you're solo sailing.
Did you have those fears when you were a kid?
I never thought about it. So I would finish my newspaper route. I would then hand cart my boat down because I'm 12 years old. I actually got pulled over by a CHP officer once because I had to go over Interstate 5 on Claremont Drive on an overpass, and he pulled me over and he's like, well, I'm not. He goes, I just don't want you to get hit by a car. So he stayed behind me until I got over the overpass.
Man.
and so I'd launch the boat. Sometimes it'd still be dark. I mean, I had to understand, since I was a newspaper boy, I know seems crazy today with our digital world we're in, but, you learned a lot through a newspaper. And this goes well with my being nerdy introverted, So I would read the newspaper. I was delivering my route. We were in a hilly area, so I didn't ride a bike. I walked it, and I would read the newspaper. My fingers would be black, And so I knew when the tides were. I knew that if I had a high tide, early morning, 4 or 5 o'clock after I did in the morning when I finished the newspaper boy route, that was the best time to ride the tide out to get out of Mission Bay into the ocean.
How did it evolve? Like, did you go to college? Did you have a normal career? What did you want to be? Did you want to be a sailor when you were that age? Did you know that could be a thing?
So now tying it back into the America's Cup. So my mom bought me a book called Showdown at Newport about the America's Cup. And so
they facilitated your interest in sailing.
I became infatuated, but I actually looked. Is the book here? No, it's probably my daughter's house. And I opened the book recently because I took it out of storage and started to give some of my memorabilia to my children, and a lot of the stuff they didn't want. But I was like,
are they sailors?
One of them is they all go out on me, but that can be for later. We definitely use the boat for family things.
Cool.
But I could still see where I was tracing images of 12-meter boats. And I got into drafting. I thought maybe naval architecture. I got really into physics. So when I started school, I started as a physics major.
Okay. Wow. Did you have a normal career? Quote, I say normal.
No. When just as I was about to start college, my stepfather that got the styrofoam sailboat and all that, he died in a car accident. And so it was just the cards I was dealt. So I had to change, and it wasn't a conscious decision. My mom was in trouble. She was suffering poorly. So I said, okay, I'm only going to go to school in San Diego, and ended up being at UC San Diego and had to work 40 hours a week, help at home, all that kind of stuff. So when you're young, you don't, at least at that time, I was just responding to what was happening rather than planning what my future was going to be.
Yeah, sure.
I'm generally an over planner. So because I had to work 40 hours a week to get through school, and people today can't imagine paying because tuition's so expensive, but tuition was like $154 a quarter when I was there.
Yeah, it's a different world.
So in 1 week I could pay for a semester. So then I had to go to work, and the work I was doing financial work for a land developer, and I kind of felt my niche, in doing finance work. So the day I graduated from college, the next day I moved to New York and went into investment banking.
The reason I ask is because, part of this podcast, there was a recurring theme in this where I'm always trying to find what was the hook that got people into sailing, whatever line of it they were in. But then, most importantly, how did they follow that inspiration? Like, this is not a normal thing to live on. How big is America? 140 feet?
141 feet on Sparling.
That's not like a normal thing people do. Okay, I live on a 140-foot schooner and I take people out whale. Like, how do you just say, that's what I'm going to do? Like, that's... A lot of people might have dreams, but few people act on them. Is my point with this? Well,
okay, so I went into investment banking, did that for a while, and now we get into the dumb luck category. So Dennis Conner wins the America's Cup. First loses the America's Cup in 1983, moves to Fremantle, Australia.
Was that 83? Was that in Newport?
Newport was when he lost in 83, okay, and Liberty. And then he wins in 1987 in Australia. Being the still nerdy kid, I'm still reading the newspaper every day, and I was infatuated with seeing the America's Cup results. I had to get it in the USA Today. It was the only newspaper that would publish them. And this was the early rounds. And I was like, I want to go watch it. So with my mother, we went down to Fremantle to watch the...
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he won. And when he won...
What was it? Wait a second. What was it like spectating? Were you out in a boat, like on the course?
I was a nobody. I bought a ticket on a headboat to go out and watch.
Okay, so that was the thing you could do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then... the cup comes back to San Diego. The organizing committee that made the arrangements, this after the catamaran defense in 1988, then the cup in 92 was successfully defended by Bill Koch, but the financial organization, the America's Cup Organizing Committee, it was called ACOC, went financially broke, and then it landed at the San Diego Yacht Club to administer the event in '95, and this had never happened before, really. So the club formed an organization called AC95 when it was headed by a guy named Chuck Nichols. My mother was Chuck's secretary when I was a little kid.
No way.
Chuck was going to operate this, and he's a very fiscally prudent person. And I approached him and say, hey, do you want someone to help with the finances of the organization? So I became, we didn't really have titles, but you would call it, I was the budget director or CFO.
Okay.
You know, but we weren't really big on titles.
Yep.
And I was very close with Chuck. I mean, we were running his name is Chuck Nichols, but he really should have been called Chuck Pennies because he was watching everything. I mean, everything. And he said, we will not spend money we don't have. Okay. So I was in his office every day saying, this is how it's looking. This is this is what the TV rights will be. This is what
I was going to say. Where did the money come from? I mean, this was all just private money, wasn't it?
Well, TV rights.
Okay.
Merchandising rights. Were the two biggest where the money comes from, and really off of those we developed a budget that from where we'd get that, and we were in the black. We lost the cup, so I'm not sure what to New Zealand, but at least the organization was fiscally stable that had it.
So what was that like for you, kind of combining your professional career and your passion?
Once again, it's like this is the dumb luck part. It's like. But on the other hand, it's like, when they say, good luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and that's what it was. By working in investment banking, the opportunity, and by Dennis Conner winning, that was the opportunity. And when then ACO collapsed and Chuck Nichols was picked, that was the moment. And me saying to Chuck, I would, and it was a volunteer job.
Right.
And Chuck loved those words. And it actually helped big time because I was able to take my work ethic and if you were a volunteer and you were telling people, hey, this is not going to be like the budgets of the past. We're going to be very streamlined. It's very nice to make that argument when you're a volunteer.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, sure. Yeah,
we're not going to pay you as much as you did before. And by the way, I'm getting paid nothing.
You have skin in the game. Yeah.
So.
Were you boating yourself the whole time? Like
completely.
I don't believe this is the first boat you've ever owned.
No, completely. So I moved from. So when I moved to New York, I stayed in sailing. Became a member of Cedar Point Yacht Club. When my first kind of job, or other than being a newspaper boy, was working at Sailboat Rental Dock, and on Mission Bay, would watch thistles go by. I thought they were just an awesome boat. So I became a junior member of Mission Bay Yacht Club, a great provincial family club in Mission Bay, and a very one design based, and got a woody thistle, completely held together by duct tape. With when you buy a boat, sometimes an old these one design boats, it comes with 10 sails, but none of them are newer than 10 years old, but and that was fine by me.
Yeah.
Me and a kid named Pat Bozzoli, and we were we did fine in light air, and
so you were into the competitive side of it?
Yeah, racing side. Yeah.
Have you always been into that?
I just like being on the water. So
okay.
Obviously I started in the Hobie 12. That wasn't competitive.
Right.
That was just being in my world. I loved that space that it was such peace for me, and I loved it. So then moved to New York, and I joined Cedar Point Yacht Club there. Bought a thistle and a laser. I had, being in investment banking, I had more resources to do stuff, and so I continued. Very good thistle club in Connecticut and Westport.
So you talked about luck being what, preparation and opportunity, or
preparation meets opportunity.
Meets opportunity. So how does that coincide with the boat we're on now?
Okay, so when I was volunteering, right, but I had to put food on my table, and now I'm married, and now I have children, and the family business was pest control that I grew up in. I said we grew up in a blue collar area, so it was pest control. And we're like, what are we going to do with the family business? And my mom hated nepotism, so I started getting involved with pest control companies outside of our family's ones, with the idea that one day we'd merge them together. But that process told me that I didn't love pest control. Great industry, high respected industry, very needed industry. It's there because the world doesn't like bubonic plague. So the Pied Piper, have you ever heard that? That was to kill rodents to eliminate the plague. So I mean, it's actually an industry that'll do great with AI.
How?
Well, you're going to wake up and there's a cockroach in your kitchen. You're not going to go Google and see what's going to happen. You're going to call someone and say, I want to get rid of this. So. So I was like, what am I going to do? I mean, I really don't really want to. And my mom made it clear that it was going to be a long time before we ever did merge companies and everything like that. So I was talking to my college roommate, and he said, if you could do anything, what could you do? His name was Eddie Novak. And he goes, I said, I would buy a couple of America's Cup boats, because we lost to New Zealand in 95. And same thing. This is where preparation and opportunity met. So we lose, the cup goes away, and now what am I going to do? So I bought a couple of America's Cup boats and started Next Level Sailing.
And that was what?
Time wise?
No. What was it? What
Next Level Sailing was
taking tourists out, or
was two IACC boats. Dennis Connor's boat from 1995, and once again, now you're talking about a kid who grew up in Claremont, and now I'm sailing Dennis Connor's America's Cup boat. It was crazy.
What did that feel like? I mean, was that like surreal to you?
It was a lot of fear, but once again, this is where I talk about overcoming fear and confidence. All the professional sailors told me it would never work,
because you had this business plan to take tourists out, or was that
exactly?
Yeah,
and expose them to sailing. I wanted to be exposed to it. And it was my passion to want to sail on these boats that then said, well, if I want to do it, there's probably somebody else who wants to do it.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
Yeah. So then with Eddie's help, we got the business going. He lives on the East Coast in New Jersey, and he had the guts to support me financially to get it going, and then bought two boats from Dennis. And I had to get them Coast Guard inspected. No one had ever taken a carbon fiber vessel and got it U.S. Coast Guard inspected.
So were you on the East Coast or out here?
Here in San Diego.
Here, okay, yeah.
And but more dumb luck. At my parish, where we were raising our family in Carmel Valley here, I was a usher. And the head usher said, "You have no idea what I do," because I was telling him what I'm planning on doing and all that. He goes, "You have no idea what I did," because he was a retired gentleman, and his name was Ken Frankie, and he says, "I'm a retired U.S. Coast Guard captain, and I ran the inspections division."
Huh. No way.
Had no idea. And he made a couple calls to Washington D.C. and basically said, we'd like to help this guy make this happen. And there was a lot of restrictions. I couldn't take people offshore and things like that. We had to stay in the bay. And
so you got a COI on them.
Yep.
Wow.
First carbon fiber inspected vessels in U.S. history.
Did you have to rebuild them at all?
I had to create damage stability, and things like that. I had to alter them, but I didn't have to rebuild them.
Okay, man, that is cool. Because I know more about this stuff than I wish I had to because we do stuff that's far offshore. So we're actually British flagged because there's a system that makes it easier to do that. But we're like watertight bulkheads surveyed every year. It's the equivalent of a COI.
Right. So I'm in there literally taking I'm creating the bulkheads.
Yeah. Well, what you said, the professional sailors said it would never work.
Never work. You would never be able to get amateurs to be able to,
because the boats are too complex, or
yes.
How did it turn out? I mean,
Well,
obviously
great.
it worked, but how did you mitigate that complexity?
I just learned.
How many people were sailing?
We could operate the boats with 3, but 4 was typically.
But how many passengers?
20. We were limited to 20.
Yeah.
And when it started, so the ICC International America's Cup class was still a contemporary class for the America's Cup when we started the business. That was still the type of boat. So
yeah.
So the idea
when is this? Like early 2000s?
2003.
Yeah. Okay.
We're sailing and taking on. And when we launched, we're like, okay, so how am I going to promote this? I took everything I had to get the boats bought and then get them through the inspection process, and more dumb luck came. We noticed that the Real World, the MTV Real World, was coming to San Diego, and they always had a job. And they saw the boat sailing on the bay, and they came up and they go, what's the deal? And the next thing I know, this was right when we launched the business. My crew were the cast for the Real World on MTV.
No way.
So next thing I know, I'm on so many countries in the world.
Wow.
Like 20 times a week, and we were receiving calls from I don't remember how many countries, and the zip codes in the U.S. were like 70 different zip codes, and it was it's crazy.
Did you? Man, that is some serious luck.
But and everyone said you never would pull it off. I've learned one thing. I've learned about me: if you want to get me motivated, tell me you can't do it. And so I taught these Real World kids how to crew the boat, and off we went.
Did they? I mean, how did? And they were filming the show the whole time, like
correct,
with paying people on board. Like you're still running the business.
Yeah. Now we had some trips that were on camera and some trips that were off camera. Let's just say there were times where people wouldn't want to see that they were with a certain person, so they would want to be on a trip that wasn't going to be filmed.
That's so interesting. There's a reality show in Sweden that we actually charter this boat to take it back across the Atlantic. It's kind of a long story, but the long story short is they take celebrities, actors, comedians, athletes, and they stick them on a Swan 70 and they sail across the Atlantic. And the show is called Över Atlanten, Over the Atlantic. And there's a former Whitbread skipper who is like the personality that runs this thing, and they just film it going across. And it's like this TV5, I think, in Sweden. It's the most popular show they have. They've done 11 seasons of it, and it's still going. They're filming another one as we speak, and that we're bringing the boat back from St. Martin back to the Canaries with 59 North with our people on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But my point being that, how do you run a business while also kind of MTV expecting there to be certain drama on this? Did it interfere with your business, or was it only?
I had no restrictions.
Yeah. Okay.
they wanted me to fire this one cast member, and I didn't want to do it, and they thought it'd be better. So I had free reign to do whatever, and they were good kids.
Yeah.
They actually ended up coming to our house a lot.
Oh yeah.
Well, they were under the home that they were in, had a lot of lights and everything. My wife was a doctor. They were away from home, and sometimes would have something they would want to ask a question to a doctor, and so they would have dinner at my house like once a week. And boy, did the kids in the neighborhood love that.
It's like the OG Below Decks. You know the show Below Decks?
I know that, but I've only watched a few minutes of that, and frankly, I would say I don't resonate with the way that captain operates the boat. That wouldn't be me.
Yeah. Have you always? So I'm jumping to a lot of conclusions here, but my question is, so you said you were in investment banking. Was this like why risk all this money on something that's like a wild idea like this? Like what was in it for you?
Just passion. Everyone said you couldn't make money sailing. Now this is something that should really resonate with you. I remember telling my father-in-law, I'm gonna pull out of what I'm doing, and I'm gonna start a sailing business that's never been tested before, and a boat that's never been certified before, and that's how I'm going to take care of your daughter and grandchildren. and that didn't go over very big. Mm-hmm. And so that's fear. So I think if I, just like I said, luck might be where opportunity meets preparation. Making sure business performs might be where fear meets my father-in-law's German Shepherd. I mean, it's like you're going to make it work. You will force yourself to make it work.
But why? Like, okay, so bring this back to the sort of the etymology of the word yacht. Like, presumably you could have continued as a banker and recreationally sailed quite happily.
Financially, yes.
That's what I mean.
But my passion wasn't there.
Was your passion more on the sailing side or more on the business side to make it work?
Well, people always say, wouldn't it be great if you can do what you love?
Listen, I'm sitting here. I'm living proof of that. I'm not trying to argue against it. I just wonder.
That's what it was.
So that's all it was. Is you just couldn't. You had to. It wasn't satisfying you.
Yeah, but what made it work was the fear to make sure I was able to put food on the table for my family, and the and then the passion of making it work. Hey, when we started, it was remember we were still the contemporary class.
Right.
And then the internet was just getting going then, but I think I still today had the best review that you could ever have seen for any company ever written. And it's a little off color, but if I'm allowed to say it,
Hey, speak freely here. This is
okay.
a podcast.
So
say whatever you want.
So I had a woman buy for their wedding anniversary a trip for her husband, who was a big sailor, and they were from I think Chicago, and they were out here, and she didn't tell him, and she said, "Oh, you're going sailing on a America's Cup boat," and he had the time of his life, and he turned to his wife and said, "Sweetie, this is the greatest gift you ever gave me. I'm going to give you any sexual pleasure you want tonight."
Great.
That really helped ticket sales.
That's cool. So what? So where is that business is not still going, or is it still going?
Well, it is. That's there's next level sailing now. So why don't I have the cup boats? Okay, so
this next level sailing exists
growing.
As a business, and now is this?
It's the same business.
I saw.
So let me get you from cup boats to where we are now.
Yeah.
So the business is going, and I needed more capacity, and I'm like, maybe I can get the America. There's only one in the world, so it's not like, and the boat wasn't for, I didn't know if it was for sale or not, but if as a boat owner, you'll know if, depending on what day you reach a boat owner, if you say, I want to buy your boat, they'll go, I'm taking that call.
So this kind of answers my question of like, okay, where you got started in the America's Cup thing before the America. That you were really Definitely. Into that. Yeah.
And my mom buying me that book.
Yeah. And then you said, maybe I can get the boat. What was this is 140-foot schooner is a different deal than a
way over my head
XICC boat. So like, what made you think? What was the idea? What did you think you wanted to do with it?
Well, first of all, if you're an America's Cup nut, the idea of owning the America completes the insanity, right?
True.
Okay. And remember, I'm a kid from Claremont who walked his own boat. So you're like, how is this happening? So there's a lot of just these serendipitous moments that happen, and I think everyone has those in their life. They just don't know. I think I got really lucky.
So hang on a second. You hit the nail on the head there. There's a lot of people have a lot of serendipitous opportunity, but the core question of this podcast is like, what makes you different that you said that's an opportunity, I'm going to act on it instead of just letting it go by? Why do you think you're like that?
The passion.
Yeah. But people have passion. That's not answering the question. There's got to be something different about you that makes you want to act on that passion.
I think I also found what I was meant to do.
Yeah, okay.
I have this belief that very few people are doing what they're best at.
We're getting somewhere. Yeah,
right?
I agree with you.
So I think like if somebody said today, Troy, you're going to be the kicker this weekend for the San Francisco 49ers, it's not going to go very good. Okay? People, the odds that somebody's doing what they're best at are super rare. That because you just don't know.
Do you think you're lucky that you know exactly what it is you want to do? Because I kind of think some people just either they don't know what they want or they do know and they're afraid to say it out loud.
I think people know what they want, but don't know how they can make it work, that they can turn that in to what they can do for the rest of their life.
Mm.
You know, I feel blessed that way, that I was able to do that. And I think the only thing I can tell you is that I believe in the adage, an overnight success takes 20 years. That the only way I know, and this is what I teach my kids, is the only way I know is to work your tail off. Just make it happen.
My mom and dad kind of together, I feel very lucky to have been raised with these values that my mom actually have this tattooed on my wrist. My mom passed away in 2012, but it's in her handwriting. It says, hold fast to your dreams. So my mom was very philosophical, and her kind of one-liner was, do what you love and the money will follow. You'll figure it out. And my dad, conversely, was more practical. He said, whatever you do, be the best at it and you'll always be in demand. So if you can combine those two things, the thing you're passionate about and then become really good at it, that's kind of the key that I've made my career on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are all good lessons from life. So I didn't have the money for the boat for America. I know I wanted it, but it was like, it's a 141-foot boat. So
it's insane. I mean, it's just insane.
So
most boats are like this are owned by like organizations.
So there was a land developer, hotel builder here in San Diego, Doug Manchester, and I approached him with the concept, and I can thank a man named Tom Voss for this. Tom Voss ran one of his hotels, and he's great. He's passed away, and he had a passion for sailing. And he said, "I think we can bring America to San Diego." And he was known as Papa Doug, and he still probably is known as Papa Doug. And he brought without him, the boat never gets here. But then he was going through a divorce, and the boat had to come out of the divorce. And this is where my college roommate Eddie Novak comes back in, and that got the financing. And I just put it all on red and said, I'm going for it.
Where was the boat?
The boat was in Key West.
Okay. And America 2.0 now is, I think, in Key
West. America
2.0,
the Scarano boat, which is basically a converted Adirondack hull from Scarano, they converted that hull to America to fill the void of the business that was lost when America left.
America left.
Yep.
Is that boat as big as this?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, it's half the size.
That's
half
what
the
I
displacement.
Thought. So America 2.0 is more closer to Woodwind, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And particularly if you look at this, the from the center line of the boat aft, it'll say, "Oh, that's not the America. That's."
So this is the one and only true replica.
Correct.
Okay, I see. Okay, so did you sail it from Key West to here?
I did.
How was that adventure?
That was my first I'd never done a long range sailing trip
on any boat.
And I've never sailed a boat this big.
Okay.
And so toss the lines. Here we go. And
did you round up a bunch of friends, or how did the crew come with the boat? How did that work? I mean, you need a crew to sail this boat.
I'm sorry for talking when you're talking.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
So I used some of the crew that I had. They were like, "We're down for taking a sailing trip
from the IACC boats."
Yep.
Yeah.
And then some of the existing crew that was on the America, and we literally like provisioned the boat, tossed the lines, and started head for Panama.
Damn. So what'd you learn along the way?
Well, in the first half hour, I threw up.
Out of seasickness, or just like, oh my God, what have I done?
Out of seasickness.
Okay.
And then the entire crew looked at me like, oh, we're in trouble now, you know. So then I was like, and that was the only time I threw up. And I think it was more, looking back at it, that was more just the stress of
had to be
starting
anxiety.
the voyage.
Yeah.
So then, but we got the boat here with no problems. Had to dock it, and that was like, okay, I hope this goes all right. And
how is the boat set up? Like, do you have like, is it single engine, twin engines, bow thrusters?
There are no bow thrusters, and real men don't need bow thrusters.
There you go.
And twin John Deere 6068s.
Okay.
And people always think when you say it's twin screw that, oh, it must be automatic to drive. No, it's the boat and I have a relationship. I'm very much. I'm underway out in the ocean, typically about 330 days a year.
Wow.
I have 7,000 days underway in my life and over 300,000 miles under my belt now.
Wow. And you said that was your first long ocean trip. Have you done more since then, or is it
every chance I get?
Yeah. Okay.
I've taken, like this boat, I've taken again since then, several times up towards, Canada and to Maine. Do
you do that for fun with friends, or is that also part of the business plan?
Well, looking back at it, I thought I could make a go at it, get to clubs and say, hey, this is your chance to sail in the America and stuff. And that proved to be not as viable. So looking back at it, you would say, was this because you just wanted to get out and go sail? But I really wanted to make a go at it, but it wasn't lucrative.
Yeah.
I got through it. I mean, it was enough to pay the bills, but it wasn't lucrative.
So tell me some of the specs of the boat. This is 141 feet long with the spars. Yeah. How much does it weigh?
So about 113 tons if you want to pick it up out of the water.
113. What is that in like pounds?
226,000 pounds.
Holy smokes. Is this a COI boat?
Correct. And
what kind of license do you have to operate this?
100 ton, because it measures under 100 ton.
Because that's the weird sort of tonnage measurement.
Exactly.
Because it wasn't the tonnage measurement, kind of like the amount of like cargo carrying capacity.
That's a naval architectural question, but as you know, depending on how the hull design is and things like that, I think our ITC international tonnage certificate is 94.7. Something like that.
Mm-hmm. And you go through the inspections and stuff every year as a commercial boat.
Yep.
Well, how many passengers can you take?
77.
77. Okay, that's why it looks so many people on deck today when you guys went by. And you do what is the business plan now? How long have you been doing this with this boat?
21 years.
Okay. And what's the bread and butter now?
It evolves constantly, but when the economy collapsed in 2008, we started doing whale watching trips. Prior to that, it was mostly just private charters, and I fell in love with whales. Same thing. People can smell when you're really passionate about something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can just go, they know it, and I just loved being with whales, and same thing. While I figure I loved it, there's going to be other people who love it, and that's proven to be true.
Has that been, so you mentioned this earlier and I made a comment on it, but that's been kind of my core belief in business too, that it's like, instead of trying to figure out what people want, like tell them this is what I want and then convince them that you also want this too. It sounds like that's kind of been your philosophy.
Certainly, when you're talking with people, but I think people, more dumb luck. So the boat is also the greenest boat.
What do you mean by that? Environmentally?
Well, here in California,
okay.
We are by far the greenest boat, putting like less carbon dioxide into the air, for doing what we do. it's kind of really weird. Here in California, we have this thing called CARB, California Air Resources Board, very strict in making changes. And when I had to go through, just like when I went to the Coast Guard, they didn't have a box for carbon fiber. CARB didn't have a box for sail. So they said, well, I said, well, we're a hybrid vessel. And they go, okay, you're hybrid. Are you hydrogen or electric? And I go, we're sail. And they go, well, we don't consider sail hybrid. I go, well, granted it's only a 5,000-year-old technology, but and then they had to then fairly quickly go, I guess that, because they were thinking cars.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So they had to rethink for boats, and then it didn't take long before they go, oh yeah, for sure, sailing is makes you a hybrid. Yes, I use engines to get on and off and stuff like that, but we put the sails up every trip.
That's really cool. One thing that people ask me, it's like, do you ever get sick of it because you're doing it so much? You said yourself, you're at sea 330 days a year, all this stuff. My answer is, well, this is the thing I love the most. How could I get sick of it? I'm guessing you have some similar perspective.
I'm very much the same. Because it's always amazes me when you're out on the water how no 2 days seem alike. Mm-hmm. And that is truly amazing. I mean, I really, no 2 days ever seem alike. Someone can tell me about the trip they were on such, and it doesn't take too many sentences before I go, oh, I remember that day. That's what I love about it. It never gets old, never feels old. Are there things that are you the captain on the boat?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of them. We have a rotation, but yeah, I'm the captain.
Are you the lead captain?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a responsibility.
Yes.
Okay. So when you go off watch and someone else, it's still your responsibility.
That's right. And not just now you're getting into like, it's not just the boat, but also the business. I'm never not on. I mean, actually it's
that is what gets tiring over time.
Being always responsible
for the actions of others.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten burned by that?
Well, define burn. I mean, have people...
Well, not burn. That's the wrong way to put it. Have you ever been woken up in the middle of the night by the phone ringing and something bad has happened, and now they're calling you?
I try. People always said to me, Troy, particularly when we had certain family events, Troy, you need to get someone else to drive the boat. Okay? So I tried it a couple times. So here's some of the stories that I wouldn't want to tell you that I'm going to tell you. So I'm on a plane with the family vacation, boarding, and the phone rings while people are still boarding, and a friend of mine says, hey, Stars and Stripes is on the news right now, and they say it's sinking in San Diego Bay. The next line is the flight attendant saying, we're closing the door, turn your phone off.
Oh, no.
I had to take the entire flight with that anxiety.
Oh, man.
We landed in San Diego, and I turned out it worked out okay. The boat didn't sink. They got it to a travel lift. Water started to ingress at the rudder, and because the rudder fell out. Now, if I was there, I would have known.
Sorry, is that Stars and Stripes in the half model here? Yeah,
that's correct. If I was on board, it's just one of the things I would normally catch is the retaining pin for the plate that holds the rudder in place. If I would just, it's the kind of thing if you're there every day, if something looks out of place, you know it. You just know it. And so I went, well, that didn't go so good. So a year later, I tried it again. Now with America here, and you think I'm going to make this up, but now I'm on an airplane in Houston, and it lands, and we're doing a change of flights to get to my nephew's wedding, and he was getting married in Florida, and it's Troy, the engine blew up. So then after that, I was like, no more of that. It's just too stressful. So I'm always the captain on board.
Really?
Always.
Because I was going to ask, you can't, is that sustainable?
Well, I'm 63, and there's going to be a time where it's not that I don't love going out there, but it's going to change. I have, last year I had 2 grandchildren born, and I'm saying to myself, I can't keep working 7 days a week. And so there'll definitely be a time where I got to say, it'll be like a switch. I'll have to say, okay, I'm done doing that, but I'm going to stay on the water.
It's a little different. I mean, I guess I'm assuming most of the stuff you do business wise is here in San Diego, and you're back at the dock and going to bed at night, right?
Yes, but I have a love. I want to see every part of the world's ocean that I can get.
Well,
to.
I want to get to that because you said off the mic before we started about this round the world thing,
Yep,
which we'll get to in a
definitely
second.
want to do that.
But the thing is, like, because I own the business, our business, and I'm on call, and our boats are at sea in far-flung places. I live in Sweden, and the boats are in the Pacific. It's a 12-hour time difference, and there's nothing I can do about it. So, like, I have that anxiety all the time, and thankfully, knock on wood, we've had a pretty good track record so far, but I couldn't have... This actually started when my wife and I started the business with one boat. We added a second boat when we wanted to have a kid because we couldn't be on the boat 9 months a year, the two of us running everything with a newborn. So we had to kind of make this leap to like, okay, I'm going to have to trust other people to do this if I want to be able to have a life ashore and a life at sea.
It's a big leap.
It's a huge leap. And it took us 5-6 years, and we're finally kind of settling into that. It works. We take turns now. I'm on the boat now for a stint, and then she'll be on the boat to cross the Pacific, and I'll be home with our. He's 5 years old now, and it works. And but it's a tough thing, and it's why with Woodwind now that we have in Annapolis, that's more like this, where you can have a life sailing, but also have a home life as well.
Well, then you and I both know how rare that is, and
it's very rare.
And I would keep that model because you're smarter than me. Because I'm doing this 7 days a week.
Yeah, but it doesn't. You have maybe less anxiety because you have the oversight. But and the other thing for me is I've wanted to build a business that could provide jobs to people that don't require you. One of our skippers that used to work for us now works somewhere else, but he's on a 4-month rotation, 4 on, 4 off, and he's got a 3-year-old at home. Like, that's not sustainable. It doesn't work. So I'm trying to create an opportunity like Mary, one of our full-time captains. She's basically on 6 weeks, then off 6 weeks, then on 6 weeks, and can have. It's still tough to do both because you got one foot in both worlds, but you're not away 4 months out of the year.
Well, I never want to judge someone for how they want to raise their family, but for me, and all the other statistics I told you about, and the days and all that kind of stuff, I would say just as important, if not more important, I managed 14 Little League teams.
What? Okay.
So I was there.
Yeah.
So I needed to have a business that was here in San Diego.
I know. Yes, I know.
Okay, so that's what I mean by that.
I get it. Yeah.
I could be present all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a work in progress. My son's only 5. As he gets older and does stuff, there's going to be more that I miss. And the older he gets, the harder it is to go away. So I'm saying it's working now, but ask me in 10 years.
And well, I'm not trying to give you parental advice here, but if that becomes your most important thing, you'll adjust your business to make that work.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it has to. Yeah. So tell me about this round the world thing, because now you're kind of coming at this the opposite way of me. I was always about ocean sailing. Now you want to go around the world.
Remember, I'm a 12-year-old sailing outside of land.
Yeah.
I mean, I got it in my blood. And I am addicted to watching all the French around the world races. So the Vendée Globe, I mean, I'm these kids are on their phone a lot, and I criticize them, and I'm just as guilty because I'm sitting there going, look what's happening today, and the fact that these boats now are capable of speeds that allow them to stay with low pressure systems in the Southern Ocean, and right now I watch Sedebo all the time. I can tell you right now, their lead right now is shrinking. That I can tell you that they're off the coast of Brazil.
So this is the old team, big time trimarans that are going for the Jules Verne record.
Correct.
Around the world, the fastest.
You quizzed me on where they are in the world right now and how far they are ahead of the record, and how fast did IDEX Sport go on this day 10 years ago. I've got all that in my head. So I mean, I'm like, okay, if I stop what I'm doing, remember, it's a switch. I'm not comfortable with someone else driving the boat. So if I stop and I got all this free time, I'm for sure. I already go to France every year, but it's for auto racing. But I am for sure going to be like, okay, how do I do this? With the budget I have, what are my options?
Would you like desire to do like an organized race, or you just want to get a boat and go for it?
I like the idea of the organized race for the safety of it. The idea of being in the Southern Ocean with other people around me sounds kind of like a good thing.
Wait, so auto racing, you just blew right by that. Participating or watching?
I love being on the track.
Cool. I was in the Bahamas 2 weeks ago, and are you into NASCAR at all?
I'm into you can probably guess what I'm into. If I'm into endurance sailing, what kind of racing?
Yeah, like the 24-hour stuff.
And why? That's why I'm in France every year.
Yeah,
for the 24 hours of Le Mans.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm not in NASCAR, but we met a sailor who was on a really nice 60-foot trimaran. Turns out he was like a Hall of Fame NASCAR driver, and now he's a sailor and bought this high-performance catamaran and stuff. But he has in one of the pontoons in the boat has a full-on VR driving sim because his 15-year-old son is like training to be an F1 driver now, and he let me try this out in there. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like
That's cool.
I think it ties a lot of things together for me that I like. I like the skill of it, the science of it. Hit the entry, apex, and exits where, and I'm always going for time and see what I can do. And
well, you mentioned at the very beginning of this that the America's Cup itself was a technology event.
Correct. Very much so.
So expand on that idea.
Well, this is actually I'm glad you came back to this, because this is probably one of the most confusing things about the America's Cup. When I did this last trip to Maine and stuff, I was doing tours, like 200 different stops at yacht clubs, and I had to
with the
America, and then I would do a lecture, and the lecture was to I wrote basically baby boomers. Most people love the sport the way they know it. So, but when America was built in 1851, it won because it was the fastest boat that they could sail across an ocean, period.
Right.
If they could have brought Sodebo to the Island of Wight in 1851, they would have brought it. I mean, if they could have just pasted the British, then they would have done it. And so that was the fastest boat, and in the ingenuity of the boat. So the designer for the America, a man named George Steers. He actually started as they added the S when his father came over from Scotland. He was self-taught, and it was basically ingenuity that caused yacht design in the United States to be focused on speed, and this was because of profit. If you were a pilot in New York Harbor, you got the jobs by getting to the ships. You didn't know when ships were coming. There's no GPS. There's no communications. You're just scanning the horizon, waiting for something to show up on the horizon. And whoever could get to the job first got the job. So if you're like, I need a faster boat. I need a faster boat. You do that for a couple of generations. And guess what? George Steers is a New York Harbor pilot yacht designer. He's building boats to get out there quickly. And and they also had to be ocean-going craft. So that tells a good story just in itself. So America was definitely, everything's about technology. The sail design, the simple sail plan, the materials of cotton. Everyone thought this is really weird. When you look at a gaff rig schooner, that is what the highest performance boats today are. If you look at a high performance carbon sail that at the top has a pole essentially making it so it can get cut off.
Square top mains, yeah.
That's its gaff.
That's right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So and also the hull design, everyone thought that when they first saw America, they were like, well, if that boat's right, everyone else is wrong, and that's what it was. So America had all the other boats had a very full bow, and with the idea that if you got to a wave or something, the volume would take you up over the swell or wave. And this was the first kind of boat that said, no, we're going to cut through it. And so it was yacht design.
Well, that's kind of come full circle now with the scow bows that actually are buoyant enough to plane.
That's why exactly what I'm saying. So if you look at an Amoka now and you look at how full their bows out, it's gone back to where it was. And the difference is their philosophy is also now to get up out of the water.
Right, completely.
Right? But when it does hit the water, have the volume to deal with that contact, right? So
are you in on the modern America's Cup stuff, the foiling monohulls, all the
Well, I consider myself a traditional America's Cup fan, which means yes.
Okay.
Now, you would have probably thought the answer would then meant no.
Well,
so most people I say are semi-traditional America Cup fans.
Yeah.
So let's look at the evolution. So America's built, and it was always faster, bigger, faster, bigger, faster, bigger, faster, bigger, and then the zenith of that is Reliance in 1903, which, by the way, is the reason why it's the center model on the wall. It's a super cool America Cup boat. So here was a very wealthy owner who basically is saying, I just want the fastest boat. So they built it out of radical materials at the time, aluminum. If aluminum was so rare then, if you were having dinner at Buckingham Palace, everyone had gold silverware except the sovereign, and theirs was aluminum.
way.
So they built out aluminum and some steel and some tin and bronze. So it was a functioning battery. So when they put it in, the electrolysis was very fast. They go, this thing's not going to last, but so many days before it's just going to eat itself up. And they went, okay, well, let's do it. That's the essence of America. That the passion to win overwhelms, logic. Like, okay, we're going to build it. So that boat was 200 feet overall. Crew of 62, an 18,000 square foot spinnaker. I mean, mammoth.
18,000 square foot spinnaker.
Silk spinnaker.
Wow.
Okay.
I think Falcons is big at 3,000 square feet.
So then what happened? The world goes into a depression, and what comes of that are the J-boat class. Now, if the J-boat class was your first time you ever seen the America's Cup, they're beautiful boats.
Yeah.
Stunning. But your father would go, well, back in the day, I should tell you about Reliance. Okay?
Right.
Then we go into World War II. We come out of World War II, there's no America's Cup. It was going to be like another trophy at another club that's sitting in a closet because it just died on the vine. But they decided not to let it die. They said, but we gotta see what can make it work. So they talked to say, what would create a challenge? So they had to dumb it down. And they dumbed it down to the 12-meter boat. Now, if the 12-meter boat was the first time you ever watched the America's Cup, you go, man, that's a really beautiful boat. But then your father would say, well, yeah, well, back in the day, you just seen the J-boats. And your grandfather would say, well, back in the day, you should have seen Reliance, right? So it kept getting that's why I say Reliance was the zenith, and then it goes down, 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 down until you get to these 12-meter boats. And then when you get to the 12-meter boats, you finally, after 1987, which was an awesome America's Cup in Fremantle, but when it comes to San Diego is when they finally said, okay, let's bring the boat into modern materials, modern age, a modern sloop. You get the ICC boats. There were still compromises. So when the Larry Ellison's one-on-one campaign happens in Valencia in 2013, I was a tenderboat driver for Valencia. For the team.
Oh, no way. Cool.
Same thing.
Those
How
are the
does
big
that
old
happen?
catamarans, right?
That was Trimaran versus
Trimaran, right. Yep.
Godzilla.
Yeah.
And that was when here we're back to that same moment, just like with Reliance in 1903, the designers had to go to Larry Ellison and say, Larry, we think you should go to a fixed wing that is so tall that the boat won't be able to sail under the Golden Gate Bridge, and that's true, by the way. But you're only going to use it twice in competition, and it's going to cost $1 gazillion. And he goes, "Let's go for it."
Yeah. So that's like the Reliant, the modern version of Reliance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
Yeah.
And when that wing boats first sailed, I was out on the water as a tenderboat driver, and I went, "Oh, this is different. Oh, this is really different." And it was so much fun. That boat was so fast. No one had seen that kind of speed. I watched sailing change right before my eyes a couple of times. I saw that boat, and we were going 40 knots regularly. I remember the radio communications were held by the tenders and not on the boat because the navigator was Italian, and it took me a while for him and I to figure out communication. Detroit, we had it going. So this destroyer called us on the radio, and I took the call, and they said, well, we want you to turn to starboard and take our stern. I go, no, I propose that we maintain course and speed, and we want to cross your bow. Well, we're a U.S. warship, and you can't. You're going to have to take our stern. I go, well, while you've been talking, we've crossed your bow. So I mean, that's how it changed the world. And in San Francisco, when the Cup was in San Francisco in 2017, at the start of that summer, they had bowsprits and
Yep.
and asymmetrical sails and big code zeros and all that. By the and the apparent wind can be behind the boat. By the time you get to the end of summer, the apparent wind was always in front of them, no matter what. And now you only had jibs. And man, it was the first I watched sailing. What could happen in sailing change, and that's what the America's Cup should always be about. It should not be about who's the best sail in the world. It's who has the best technology.
Is that the Cup 2017 when New Zealand or when the U.S. came back from like the brink and won like 8 in a row?
And Jimmy Spithill,
Yeah.
who I think is just an amazing sailor. And I've sailed with him. It's same thing. Here you go. And what is a kid from Claremont? And he can say something like that. And I've never been so scared on a boat as sailing with Jimmy Spithill, not because of skills, but because he told us we're going to a dial down. And I said, there's no way in physics that this boat is going to make a turn. And he did it. He did it. And I was like, wow.
What boat was that on?
That was, what were they called? They were like 40-footers, RC 44s.
Okay, yeah.
RC 44s. Okay. So that was in Lanzarote.
Mm-hmm.
There you go again. What am I, a kid like me sailing in Lanzarote? And I'm fortunate enough to have one of his sons sailing for us now.
No way.
Uh-huh.
As a crew member?
Uh-huh.
All right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to wrap this up soon because I want to see the boat here before you kick us out of here if we can get a little tour. But I got to ask you, you've got a Norwegian flag on your sweatshirt and it says Nordkapp. What's the significance?
Very good friends of mine in Norway. This was given to me by my friend, and he's a captain for Viking Cruise Lines.
Okay. Have you been to Norway?
I have.
Yeah, it's a special place.
Yeah, and he and I, even though he drives cruise ships and I drive the America, we have so much in common.
Yeah, sure. Like what?
Well, the same thing that you and I have in common. The what it's like to live with all the burdens of a captain. That is a common fraternity. And whether you drive a cruise ship, an aircraft carrier, a sailing yacht, where you take that responsibility and hold it, only people who take that responsibility understand what that means. And once they do, you're in that fraternity.
Do you get anxious before trips?
No.
Have you ever?
Nope.
Oh, that's good.
The only time I've ever been scared sailing is
not
once
scared,
with my
but
mother.
there's a difference between being scared and being anxious, having nerves. You know?
No.
Yeah.
I don't. And I think that's important. If you're going to have people whose safety is in you better feel confident about what you're doing. I mean, face it, just like we have to take all that responsibility, there's another thing that's also always true. I mean, people are putting their lives in your hand. There's a couple professions in life where you want that person to be confident to the edge of arrogance. I would say captains. I would say any surgeon who's about to go to surgery. I don't want to be going on an operating table and just before the anesthesiologist puts me out and says, I'm 50-50 on this.
There's a really, really awesome kind of scene in a submarine movie, actually, U-571, where Matthew McConaughey's becomes the captain because the captain dies. He's the first officer, and the XO, who's played by the guy from Reservoir Dogs, Harvey Keitel. Matthew McConaughey is having like a panicking moment, and he goes to the crew, I don't know what to do. And Harvey Keitel sits him down. He's like, the captain always knows what to do, even if you don't know what to do.
And I joke about that all the time with my family. We're in a profession where we always have to have a decisive answer.
Yeah.
And I take that very seriously. No, I never feel fear. If I felt there was something wrong or fearful about something, when the passengers are going to be under my safety, I wouldn't leave the dock. Okay? I'm only going to leave the dock when I know I'm going to bring them all back safely. So, yes. So the answer is no, I never feel fear when I leave the dock. So there you go.
That's a good place to end, Troy. Thank you for having us in this beautiful salon here, and I'm excited to walk around on deck a bit.
All right.
Thanks for coming
Thank
on the show.
you for the opportunity.
All right.
All right.
Take it easy.
Cheers.
Thanks also to our sponsors, Offshore Passage Opportunities and Rutgerson Marine. Check out sailopo.com to sign up for the mailing list and crew offshore, and check out rutgersonmarine.se or buy hardware from your local chandlery. Thanks to both, and we'll see you next week. On the Wind is the podcast about sailing, created by 59 North and hosted by me, Andy Schell, and August Sandberg. The show is mixed and produced by me and August in Sweden and Norway, respectively. The intro theme music is composed and performed by former podcast guest, sailor, and musician Cameron Dale, while the outro music you're hearing now is, of course, by our friends, the Stormweather Shanty Choir from Bergen, Norway. We love hearing from our fans, so send your questions and comments to holdfast@59-north.com, and please do us a favor and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to join us on the Quarterdeck as well to nerd out about seamanship. That's quarterdeck.59-north.com. Until next time, hold fast.
Could be. And when me money was all gone on liquor and the horse, I made up me mind that I was inclined to go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. I made up me mind that I was inclined to go to sea no more. As I was walking down the street, I met sweet Angeline. She said, come home with me, me lad, and we'll have a cracking time. But when I awoke, it was no joke. I found I was all alone. My silver watch and my money too, and my whole bloody gear was gone. Was gone, was gone. My whole bloody gear was gone. It was when I awoke, it was no joke, for my whole bloody gear was gone. As I was walking down the street, I met Big Rapper Brown. I asked him if he would take me in, and he looked at me with a frown. He said, last time you was paid up with me, you took up no score. But I'll take your advance and I'll give you a chance to go to sea once more. Once more, once more, to go to sea once more. I'll take your advance and I'll give you a chance to go to sea once more. Sometimes we're catching whales, me lads, but mostly we get none. With a 20-foot oar in every paw from 5 o'clock in the morn. And when daylight's gone and the night's coming on, we rest upon our oars. And oh boys, you wish that you was dead or snug with the girls ashore. Ashore, ashore, or snug with the girls ashore. Oh boys, you wish that you was dead or snug with the girls ashore. Come all you seafaring lads that listen to me song. When you go a big boating, boys, make sure you do not go wrong. You take my tip when you come off a trip, don't go with any whores. But get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more. No more. and have all night in bed, and go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. Get married instead and have all night in bed, and go to sea no more.